We're joined by political scientist and director for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asante. A very good morning to you, Doc.
Good morning, sir. Ben.
It's a real pleasure having you. And one of these days, we're going to be having a very interesting conversation about your farming skills. I took a look at what you sent me and it made for very interesting viewing. So one of these days, let's look forward to that one. But for this morning, thank you for joining us.
Why not? Sure.
Let's start with the internal politics of the MPP. We've had the national officers vying. So we've had the vetting sessions, the likes of Asamoah Boateng, the likes of Stephen and Tim, a perennial competitor for the chairmanship slot, among others. What do you make so far of the 52 or so people vying who have picked up the forms, who have officially, been vetted, those who have been vetted so far? What is your take on the lineup?
I think the party is gearing up for action for 2024. So you are seeing it has paraded all its leaders who are worth the assault. If you look at the chairmanship position, very interesting. You have Asamoah Boateng, who no doubt, Minister Dr. Bagbin. I've seen him working in this government too. Quite a strong party man. We have seen Stephen Intim, who you rightly describe as perennial political officer, who has been on the ballot for years. Very skillful person, very strong-willed and then a party man. We've seen former Minister Oseyeji, who has worked as a deputy minister for trade and industry, and later foreign affairs. A very interesting personality with a lot of ideas, with a lot of experience and all that. We are seeing the rest of them doing very well. The interesting bit we are yet to see, because on the day of election, there you see those who really matter in this matter. It's getting interesting. But one thing I want to know, that how well do they want to even now assist their own party to overcome some of the challenges that we are facing now? What are they talking about in terms of some of the topics that are going, that we are discussing now? What new things are they bringing to the party? Because yes, the party has been, will be in power for 8 years, which by the time we get to 2024, they are 8 years. What is it that the party want to show to the world that this is what they've done in the second term, for which reason they need to, the people need to renew the mandate of the MPP, who are then going to be the leaders of the party? It's a very interesting one.
It's a complex mix, isn't it? Because
I am happy we are seeing it is.
Because I've had the likes of Musa Superior here, for example, and he, in sharing his thoughts, said that the likes of John Bwedu, whom he's contesting, have not really lived up to expectation. In fact, according to him, most of the executive members of the party have not lived up to expectation. He points to the party's office, for example, national office. He looks at it and says, this is shambolic compared to what the opposition has. He points to many matters in the party and how they've been handled. Even elections from the grassroots, talking about what the NDC would call their branch or ward elections. I'm talking about the polling station executives, then the constituency level, then the regional level, and now it's got to the national level. You have all of these people saying that, look, the national executive has not lived up to expectation. We know that the chairmanship position is up for grabs because, the chairperson, Freddie Wasimewu is not contesting again. So that's an open fight for everybody. But when you look at the trickle down and you look at the personalities in there, I mean, is this what the MPP would need to break the 8?
Obviously, yes, because they don't have any other persons apart from those we are seeing. So this is all that they have. There's no doubt that some of
But
them.
all that they have, will it cut it? Will it cut it? Whether past those who are in leadership or those who are vying for leadership, will it cut it?
Those who are vying for leadership positions, some of them you can tell that they are bringing new energies into the party. Take, for instance, Musa Superior, a very interesting personality. He excelled in the northern region, very, very strong party person. You can also
So he actually, pardon the interjection, he was CEO for the Tamale Metropolis, basically the mayor of
yes,
Tamale. He is currently a deputy CEO of the
yes,
Forestry Commission. So
yes,
he's done a lot in the party.
he's done a lot, because if you look at the north, anybody who's able to hold that place strong for a party is worth considering for a position of this nature, right? Because look, from the north, and then you perform very well in the south, it's over. You can contest as a flag bearer for the party. And he's done so well, so well. I'm so impressed about his performance in the north and then what we are gradually seeing here. So I believe that those who are coming on board have something that the old guards did not have, that they want to bring into the party. That's my thinking. Apart from that, if the story is to the contrary, then there's a difficulty, because this is the team, the past leaders. They were in office when NDC whipped them with a lot of ministers and deputy ministers thrown out of government and in power. It means that something went wrong during their own administration. So what is it that this time around they have, which they want to convince the voters to give them the mandate this time around to turn things around? It's a difficult one for them. I'm sorry to say it's a difficult one, because you need to convince people why we have arrived at where we are now. Look at Parliament. The composition of Parliament is part of the function of the performance of the old leadership. So if you are part of the old leadership contesting now, then you have a Herculean task as to how you convince voters that this time around you will be able to bring something different on board and then change the fortunes of the party. It's a difficult thing for them.
Let's get into the papers now, starting with the Daily Graphic newspaper and quite a number of others that we'll be getting into. But dealing with global crisis inspire new partnerships. President Akakpo urges the EU, and the president has called on the global community to inspire new partnerships to deal with the global crisis, particularly the COVID-19 pandemic. He said the pandemic had reversed years of progress and revealed critical gaps in infrastructure in areas such as healthcare and digital connectivity. He also observed that global efforts to help countries correct the devastation caused by the pandemic and also achieve the UN's 2030 Sustainable Development Goals were coming up short. Just your quick take, Doc, on the Sustainable Development Goals, because 2030, as has rightly been pointed out in the paper, is what we're looking at. For some of them, we fared pretty well, but when you look at all 18 of them, we have a long way to go on some of them, especially now that we have to grapple with COVID-19. There's also monkeypox, which hasn't devastated the planet like at least COVID-19 did. And we also have the Russo-Ukrainian crisis on our hands. What do you make of it? And I ask this in context. We had Vision 2020 together with Malaysia. Look at where Malaysia is and look at where we are. We didn't see Vision 2020 pan out. We're also looking at the SDGs. I mean, what do you get inspired by what you see so far?
No, I don't get inspired, because you see, we have seen these programs time and again, and we have not lived up to expectation, because the things that we need to do right, we refuse to do them. That's it. We only glorify some of this and make them what slogans, Vision 2020, so and so, but the real effort at what pushing the country there, we have forgotten about it. Where we need issue of development has become an albatross around our neck. Compare Ghana to what Malaysia. We all started from the 1950s when we were doing far better than them. Where are we now? Look at development plans that we have had in this country. The recent one. Are we using it? People are building, party manifestos. They govern with manifestos and shy away from the development program, which has the development plans who have long-term, benefit for this country. And we as citizens also don't hold political parties to it. We leave them. They promise us anything, even what they promise in the manifesto. Are we sure we are able to hold political parties to it? Let alone look at even the general development of the country in terms of the development plan. We don't do all these things. So politicians get away with these type of problems. And we are where we are. I'm afraid we will continue to have all kinds of programs and policies, some within and some around the globe, which we always will be the first to be showing signs that yes, we are ready and we are about implementing them. But at the end of the day, when we come to the real issue on the ground, I'm afraid my country is not ready.
Let's look at some other stories. Ghana, Malta commit to deepen ties. There's also Ghana Standards Authority bill passed, and then there's a special supplement in today's daily graphic on insurance. That's inside. But let's look at the Attorney General swearing in the new Office of the Special Prosecutor Board. You remember we had conversations on this, and it's been how many months? Some 10 months into the tenure of Kisi Ajabeng. We had a similar issue with Martin Alamisi Benz Kaiser Amidu, who had to step aside, resign from the post. But in this instance, I think for Martin Amidu, it was some 5 months. This one has taken about twice that number of months. But let's get into the story. Attorney General and Minister of Justice Godfred Yeboah-Drameh has sworn in the board of the Office of the Special Prosecutor with a pledge to support the office to spearhead a strong anti-corruption agency. He said the OSP, which is mandated to prosecute corruption and corruption-related offences in a manner devoid of the perception of possible executive interference, deserved the real support of the public and not non-constructive and defeatist criticism. Trust my good friend, Godfred Yeboah-Drameh. I'm quoting him here. He says, "I affirm my trust in the newly sworn-in board and pledge my full support for its statutory obligations. The nation rests its hopes on you to ably spearhead an efficient process for the provision of a strong anti-corruption agency." But beyond all the talk, there's a lot that could have been done in these last 9-10 months if the board had been sworn in, which have not been done. But better late than never. Now we have the board. But especially focusing on the point that is made here, mandating the prosecution of corruption and corruption-related offences in a manner devoid of the perception of possible executive interference. That is where maybe I want you to zero in on, because people have always said that, look, the former OSP wanted to do certain things. In the end, he came out and said that the same forces that appointed me are impeding my work, and so I can't even go for the jugular of corruption-related matters. Do you think anything will change in this tenure?
I don't know, but the special prosecutor is supposed to give us hope as to whether he'll be able to do his work. I have no doubt in my mind that he's a man we can trust, very honest, man with integrity, and a hardworking officer. I have no doubts about that. But the reality is that, can he be able to get to people within ruling government? That is the difficulty. So we just have to wait and see how he will fare. But if he's able to survive that, problem that we have, then he can live up to expectation. Other than that, it will become the old story that we know. More talk, little action. But I want to believe that he should be able to weather the storm and then go for people within the party who cross the line and then deal with them using the law. That's a very simple exercise that he has to do.
Well, other stories here. GJA goes to the polls on Friday, and we know that the person to conduct the elections resigned recently. There was a lot of talk about that yesterday on this platform. But those contesting, Dave Agbenu, he's an aspiring president. Gayhart Mensah, also aspiring to be president. We also have Albert Kwabena Jumfor, an aspiring president as well. And for the organizing secretary position, Mary Mensah, who is also aspiring. It's been a fierce campaign so far, and we're hoping that the over 800 members of the GJA in good standing will cast their vote come Friday, and we'll have a new leadership. And hopefully the resignation of the person to conduct the elections will not affect this. The GJA president, the outgoing president, Afe Omoni, expressed some hope that he would come back on the table. On the back page, Daily Graphic, NSS acquires 20,000 acres for commercial farming and no cholera in Accra. That's according to the Ghana Health Service. But only recently, when we had Florence Kuchi of the AMA, one of the lead members of the AMA, she mentioned that, look, a lack of logistics and all the other hiccups that we have could result in a cholera outbreak. So we will see how that goes. Hopefully we don't get to that point. The Ghanaian Times newspaper, 1,800 Ivorian refugees opt for home under accelerated voluntary repatriation. I'll bring you some details of that story. Man jailed 14 years for posting woman's nude pictures on social media, and this is a good one. I believe it will stem the tide of people, hate posts and all of that. We'll get into that story as well. And then Ghana's water quality generally unhealthy. That story on page 4. So let's start with the water issue. I think I'll just look at the three stories very quickly, Doc, and then you can react to those that you will. But quality of Ghana's water resources generally unhealthy. The Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Ms. Cecilia Abnadapa, has said the quality of Ghana's water resources is generally not healthy. She, however, explained that the extent of deterioration varied according to the river system and river basin. Ms. Dapa said these on the floor of Parliament in Accra yesterday in answer to a question asked of her by the Member of Parliament for Kwesi-Mintim, Dr. Prince Hamidu Ama, who wanted to know the state and quality of Ghana's water resources. Now, quoting the minister, she said, "The Volta River system and the coastal river made up of Densu, Ayensu, Ochinakwa, Ochiemisa, Kakum, Butre, and Toji, aka basins, Toji Aka basins, I beg your pardon, are fairly good water quality. But the southern river system made up of Ankobra, Pra, Tano, and Bia rivers are classified as polluted." So hold for me, Doc. Let me get to those two other stories. There's also this one about the man jailed 14 years for posting the nude picture of a lady on social media. So a 22-year-old phone repairer has been sentenced to 14 years imprisonment for sharing intimate pictures of a Lebanese woman on social media by Circuit Court at Adenta. Now, Solomon Doga pleaded guilty to charges of sexual extortion and non-consensual sharing of intimate images and prayed the court for forgiveness. The court, presided over by Mrs. Sednam Awo Baluka, convicted Doga on his plea and sentenced him to 12 years on the charge of sexual extortion and 2 years on the charge of non-consensual sharing of intimate messages. You can get further details in the story in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. But this is fair warning for those who are in the habit of, oh, you've left the person, maybe the person, you had intimate images of the person and you want to, attack the person because they've moved on or something of the sort. This is a bit of a different situation because there's extortion in there as well. But under any circumstances, if you're found out, the long arms of the law will find you and deal with you. 22-year-old, by the time he is out, that is, if there's no prerogative of mercy exercised on his behalf, he would be 36 years old. Maybe a lesson there for all of us. And I'll wrap with the story on page 16. More than 1,800 Ivorians have taken advantage of an assisted return program this year. Interior Minister Ambrose Derry has announced. The figure, he said, represented about 96% of those processed since the beginning of the accelerated voluntary repatriation in 2021, noting this is progressing and a clear indication that it is now safe to return at home. Of course, some of them came into the country on the back of the Ivorian crisis in 2010. Some of them have been in the country since 2011, and now there's a program to get them back to the Ivory Coast. Your quick reflections on these three stories, whichever one you want to look at. The quality of Ghana's water, Doc. Then there's also the bit about this person who gets 14 years for posting nude photos and Ivorians being repatriated to their country.
Yeah, I will touch on each one of them.
Okay.
To start with, let's see the quality of water that we are talking about. It's very unfortunate that this is the story we have for Ghanaians today, that the water we drink is of little quality. It's a shame unto us as a country.
But is it any surprise? Is it any surprise on the back of Galamsey?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because there are activities that the state have failed to prevent, and that's why we are here. The capacity of the state in terms of what maintenance of law is going down. Why am I saying that? Because take for instance, what are the things that really worry us when we talk about what water pollution and the rest of them? We are talking about what Galamsey. Galamsey is a subject that governments have shied away from for all this while, simply because of the reasons that you and I know. And a lot of water pollution in some of these big rivers, we can attribute to what? Galamsey. We talk about Galamsey as if people who are doing them are coming from the moon or from outside this country. Let me put it mildly. But they are here. We are refusing to go for them, prosecute them to serve as deterrent to others. Now, we have what? Certain human activities that affect also the quality of water, and yet we are not bothered. Look at the way we even we pour out human excreta into some of these river bodies. Recently, we saw something about Denso and the rest of them. All right. I think institutions are down. I think enforcement is gradually becoming a problem. And I think that we have lost our sense of direction in terms of all these things. But it is a clear warning to us that now that we are getting problems like this, then we must be prepared for what? Trouble, such as what? Water-related diseases and all that. Is our country ready for such problems that we are likely to have on our hand? A time will come, they have told us that we will struggle to even get water, potable water. We are not going to get. So I believe that authorities must be up in doing in terms of what their duties. They should be able to, sanction people who cross the line and then stop the talk shop. They should walk the talk and make sure that all these things that affect the quality of water become a thing of the past. I will also touch on the issue of the nude picture and then the sentencing that followed the story. It's a good one. It's a good example for people to see that, look, there are laws, and that irrespective of the differences that you have as couples, as partners and all that, you can, unleash anything on anybody and the law will sit down and not take you on. It is a good pusher that we are getting, that the court will not countenance some of these things, and that real punishment will be there for those who break the law. It is a good thing, and that we are going to have sanity and social media and other networks, right? The issue of Ivory Coast, the Ivorians returning home. I love that because nobody will build your state for you. It doesn't matter how long you stay outside and there's trouble. You need to get aboard and then get your shoulders onto the wheels of what governance and then get things started. Ivory Coast has been in turmoil for a very long time. I was a reporter at the office of the president when we visited Yamoussoukro and all that. They were signing peace accord only to leave that country, and there was big trouble there. It's my hope and prayer that this very good, very prosperous country will lift up its game and make sure that they right the wrongs and then put the country on sound footing. And this requires the effort of people of that country. So I'm happy that our government is also facilitating the process, getting them to their country and help build that country one more time.
Let's take a quick look at some other papers. The Daily Guide this morning talks about the MPP vetting results, which are out. It also talks about Newmont blazing the trail. But MPs refund double salaries. I'm sure you're familiar with this story. It's on page 3 of the paper. And the Controller and Accountant General's Department has confirmed that money paid to some members of Parliament as overpaid salaries have in fact been refunded. The Kintampo South MP Alexander Jan, Pru West MP Stephen Jalula, and MP for Salaga North Al Hassan Idi were said to have been overpaid a total of 280,000 8 cedis and 90 pesos in the year 2021. We also have the Kintampo South MP and Pru West MP who were allegedly paid 119,000 4 cedis and 45 pesos each in excess of their salaries by the CAGD. Salaga North MP was overpaid 42,000, covering their tenure as DCEs and MPs. But as we have been now being told, the refund has been executed. In the middle spread of the paper, Ghana Tea Club opens on June the 25th, and there's Diamond Apia reacting to Efia Shua's dog sex brouhaha. Police confirm arrest of Moses Armstrong. That's for the entertainment pages. But Republic Press this morning, maybe you can take a quick look at some of these stories. Professor Jampo, we can't tackle youth unemployment with national hatred for our own and love for outsiders. Details on page 13. A tourist would visit the Sakumona Shrine instead of the National Cathedral. That's according to Bright Simmons of Imani, Africa. He's been vehement, ferocious on this matter. And I have my own concerns now that we're seeing so many things about who was on the board at the start of this entire enterprise and how some things in the contract, even now, Doc, one thing that is out there, some of the artists that performed, I think Empress Gifty, yeah, I think so, Sonny Badu and the rest, and some of them coming out to say, hey, we weren't paid any money, but there are claims that some people were paid 50,000 this and 30,000 that. Well, only God knows how that panned out and who issued what payments out. There's also Attorney General takes on media. I found this interesting over malicious, ill-motivated and ill-researched comments about the Office of the Special Prosecutor. So while he was swearing in 8 out of 9 of the board members yesterday, quote, he said, "We all owe it a duty to contribute to the success of this institution. At this stage, may I say that malicious, ill-motivated and often ill-researched comments in the media about the office and resources at its disposal hardly serve the public interest." So, Mr. Dami, we agree with you on that, but we shall continue when we have the right information to put it out there. The people of Ghana need to know. And when we have the right information concerning the Office of the Special Prosecutor, which is being bankrolled by our taxpayers' money and which is supposed to work in our interest, we shall, as media, do the right thing. Over to you, Dr. Asa Asante, in terms of your reaction to these stories.
Yes, I will look at the criticisms that people level against the OSP, and then the Attorney General sometimes are not happy about it. Mr. Odame, bear with us. In a democracy, we have a duty to hold those we have put into office a certain level of accountability, and that is exactly what we are doing. We know where the lines are, that when we cross, you have the right to take us on. I'm speaking here as a journalist and also as a scholar. So the criticisms will come. It is part of the oils that grease the wheels of governance. Without it, the wheels will grind to a halt. So they must be happy that we are people who criticize and point things out for them to make amends. That's a good one. Then we'll have a timid media that will not talk, that will sit down for things to fall apart before they come to rescue. No, we want the media to be up and doing, and then give us information, inform us, educate us, and hold government to account. And of course, the Special Prosecutor is one of the institutions that we cherish so much that the media will always put its light on. That message, I'm sure the agent is aware of, and which I don't think the media of this country will shy away from. That is my comment about that.
All right, Republic Press, let me just add this one. We are not paid ex gratia. Judges and magistrates made clear. They put out a statement yesterday that they are not paid ex gratia and that they have their salaries reviewed at the end of every 4 years. But the Ghanaian publisher, and I'll just go through a few more stories from about 2 papers and then we can wrap with those. Doc, So there's enough of the disrespect. This is Ghanaian publisher Bagbin tells ministers. And you know, in recent days, the roads minister, Akakpo has not shown up. We've had Ken Oforiatta, who has, also had his issues with, the legislative body, twice failing to show up to account for COVID-19 expenditure. And the Speaker of Parliament has issued a warning to them that they are not to dictate to the House how to conduct its business, and that when they are summoned, they must appear and do the right thing. Then let's wrap with the Finder newspaper, NHIA to eradicate manual claims processing in 18 months. Maybe you can share your thoughts on the bit about disrespect, and we can call it a review.
Yes, I think it's unfortunate that up to date, the ministers have not gone to Parliament to answer questions. Let us be fair to them also to find out what is the problem that is preventing them from getting to Parliament. Once we are able to do this, then we'll be in a better position to know whether it is fair to pass any comment. But put that one aside. You know, parliamentary business or governance in general is a dialogue, give and take. So if there are lingering questions, it is incumbent upon any minister or government representative to go and do the needful. So I'm surprised that it's taking them a long time. If they stay for a very long time, they are going to it's going to have a negative effect on them in terms of what? Whether people want to give them mandate another time around and all that. It also sends a bad signal that it appears you have something to hide, which I don't think that they have anything to hide. So the earlier they come, the better. My good friend Oforiatta, I'm sure he's listening. He should be able to get to Parliament, get all the ministry to provide all the necessary materials for them to go to Parliament and then explain themselves. These are things that really help. It's not that the Speaker is threatening anybody, but the Speaker is doing his work. Members of Parliament are also doing their work. If you go to advanced democracies such as Britain, US, these things are big issue, for which reason no minister will want to fail. In our part of the world, some of these things we try to, pay lip service to them. But in advanced democracy, this can cost your job, or this can cause a party to lose power anytime they want a renewal of their mandate. So I believe that, yes, I'm not passing judgment as to why they have not gone there, but whatever it takes that they need to do to be able to get to Parliament and then respond to the queries of the people's representative,
right,
it is important, and they must look at that and then respond in no time. It is in their own interest to do that.
It is indeed in their own interest. Thank you so much, Doc, for joining the conversation this morning. Thank you for honoring us once more. All right. Let me just also acknowledge, I saw this at the start. Kweku Amponsa, you say, good morning. I'm watching you live from Kadewaso. I just noted that you sent that in. I've never seen you join the feed before. Thank you for joining. Up next, we serve you sports, and after that, we get into our big stories. Don't you forget, we're hosting members of Parliament as we get into crucial matters of national concern this morning.